Mr. Pitroda, thank you for joining us. And the first question that I'm going to ask you is a straightforward one. How do you assess what happened in Washington on 6th January and afterward?
First of all, thank you for the opportunity. I think what happened on 6th of January was essentially unthinkable. And we all sort of take democracy for granted. We assume there is a rule of law. We assume there is security. And to see this happen in the Capitol was quite shocking. I believe there are a lot of lessons to learn for the world.
Right. What particular lessons can India draw from what happened on 6th January in the United States of America?
First one is that democracy is always work in process. People just didn't take it seriously. That this man who is going to divide society, going to create hate among people, and would lie through his teeth all the time.
Right.
I see some parallel, and I have some concerns about what is happening in India as well. Another lesson is about institutions. We got to build institutions with autonomy, flexibility, freedom, inner strength, so they don't cave into these sort of dictatorial tendencies. In America also, some of the institutions caved in. A lot of the senators didn't speak. In fact, they spoke with the president. Okay. Police was a little more relaxed. Okay. Security institutions didn't take this seriously. Social media played an important role. Unfortunately, social media is more interested in business model. You know, they promote lies directly, indirectly. They build echo chambers. They work on clicks and revenues. And they multiply lies. And they also help organize things. So that's also a lesson to learn.
Right.
But to me, the most important thing is at the end of the day, character matters. Character of the leader ultimately matters a lot. And a national leader has to be a leader for everybody and not for a group of people.
Right. I think you've summarized it quite well. I'm glad that you mentioned the word character here. What is it that you think that the Republican Party is guilty of? Because, you know, we have to face it that they have been complicit in propping Donald Trump and enabling him so that he could rise to power and do as he wished. What does it tell about the character of a party?
Well, party probably saw immediate gains. And again, there is a parallel here and in India. Okay. Leader has license to lie. He can fabricate all kinds of things and people believe it.
But this is where the question arises that what is, in a democracy, what role does the opposition play?
I agree. But first, we need to really ask more about what is the role of a citizen. What is the role of institutions, business, before we go to opposition party. Opposition party is a subset of a larger set. You know, if large number of people go with it, if large number of people buy these lies, that's a concern. Then very little can be done by opposition parties.
Why do you think that this narrative got steam in the first place? Because, you know, both in the US and in India, this happened after, after people of United States and in India gave a certain party two chances, right? 2 consecutive terms. And then this narrative began to weave and gain
I think
steam.
this narrative started with social media first. Okay, this narrative started before elections were won. Elections were won because of the narrative.
Now, I also want to talk about the internal democracies in the party, and the lack of which actually has far greater repercussions and implications for the country and not just the party itself. And in the case of the Republican Party, there were some voices of dissent, and there were people who were warning against Donald Trump, and they were silenced.
Very little.
Right, and but when it came to towards the final round of getting approval, so who will run, who will be the Republican Party's candidate? I mean, Bill Weld was defeated in quite an embarrassing manner. Right, his own party did not support him at all, and it was 98% versus 2%. Right, so it was that devastating for Bill Weld. Now, coming to India and talking about parallels, even in the Congress party, your party, there has been dissent. I mean, and the process is still on. I mean, every day we hear about party members questioning the current leadership.
That's
and
good, that's all right, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yet nothing happens really.
So something will happen. Maybe you don't want it to happen too early.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you peak too early. Okay, so that's okay. The time will come. But the fact is, there is discussion, there is dialogue, there is dissent. They are still with the party. And that's a pretty healthy sign.
Trump presidency and what came at the fag end of it, and Congress party that has seen its worst times, as it were. I mean, electorally speaking, and when it comes to dissent within the party, what is the most important lesson that the Republican Party and the Congress Party need to learn?
I think everywhere any political party or any political leader must recognize the fundamental values. What do you stand for? Irrespective of whether Congress party is high or low, the fundamental value, the idea of India, rooted in democracy, human rights, freedom, diversity, inclusion, love, non-violence, all of these ideas are very fundamental. And when you move away from ideas, you run into problem. US will rise again. US democracy will survive because US institutions are very strong. People are committed to democracy. Media is free, fairly free. Okay. Look at what Twitter did. Immediately, Twitter decided that Trump should be taken off.
But then that's almost saying hello Biden, because now Trump is on his way out.
They should have done it a long time ago. I agree with you. But at least it got done.
Right.
Okay. So I think the key, again, we come back to the same basic idea, is that you got to believe in democracy. It is a lot of work in process. You got to focus on institutions. You got to focus on character. And you can't really ignore that leadership matters.